book from Rabbi Mordechai Atiyah. Handy?
I don't know if I have it here.
Okay, you don't have to. We don't have that much time, so let's. What I wanted to point out was he has these charts, and we've been looking at. I've been looking at these charts since Rabbi Memram gave us the book, which probably was 10 years ago or more. And on page, one of the pages there, one page, it happens to be on page 128. He has a chart here. The chart is called the Ekia and also the Ma and the Ben. So what so looking at that, he goes through all the 49 days, and then he goes, that is in part of the Ekia and the Ma and the Ben, and then he has a way of spelling out the Mab of the Ma and the Mab of the Ben. Each day has a different particular letter. Now, so I wanted to just go over that, or actually I'm showing it on the video right now if anybody out there is interested. But I wanted to go over to page Kuf Mem Vav real quickly, because I think this straightens out for me, just gives me a little bit more of an opening to understand it. If you looked at that page, you will see that I haven't really looked at it carefully. Each one of the letters, say for example, Ekia, every day is a different letter, the Ekia, and it repeats himself 49 times. So the point that, and the same thing, he said the same thing is true of the Mab, and the same thing is true of the Ben. You have one letter that is actually enunciated on each one of the days, and I guess it's a sweetening. That what he's saying is you're bringing this into the mix and doing like that. On page Kuf Mem Vav, he says like this in our Sefer. He says, one second. Okay, anyway, never mind. He says, number Ayin Vav, he says, Tekavim el os aleph shebashem Ekia harishon shebasara Ekia hanikroim basara domim. So he takes that. What I was going to finish and say that's just all I have. Basically, it just describes how you take one letter, and that's what he's doing in that chart. This is, I guess, a little pill, a little pill of sweetening. What I wanted to say was that next time you look at that chart, you'll see that the way it's menukad is very different. So I never really examined it other than to look at it and say, well, it's just kind of, when you spell the name Havaya, for example, you put a bunch of series under it, or you switch it to something else. I'm going to look into that more to try to get an idea. Because I think I had just a little slight, very small breakthrough in the Rishash, in the sense of realizing that it's not so much, like an understanding but like the Timunot themselves, or the ideas themselves, or the issue. Just looking at it, you get into it more. There's a whole meditation that's actually involved in trying to decipher these things. And I think that's where he's coming from, or at least that's been a little bit helpful for me. And so now we have a little bit of an explanation of that one page, which I never understood exactly, but it's coming around. Now, I want to go back to where we were yesterday because this topic is so important. And to flip through it, if we went over here to page Kuf Mem Ches, or just move along to page Kuf Mem Ches, we see here we have on the left column in the Tiv, he says Hakdama le'in and the Shach dinim. Now, while he's going to repeat some things that we certainly know, it's like it's an intro to what's going on in the Shach dinim and what's going on in the Par dinim. Because these are ideas that we have, we know where they come from, or we have he's going to give us a group of different ideas. But this is another chart that takes place in that Sefer. Well, let's see what he says here. The Hakdama le'inyan hashach dinim is not the devar in the shach dinim. Hina yedura shebetchilas abriya, ha'ish shviris akelim. Shetechilach biyatzach akelim v'ha'orah shachal sfiris Das, Chagad, and Nehim. Hanikroim Gam Shukam Sheva HaMalachim. They have another name. And he points out to us, if you're going to include Das, then you have to make Netzach and Hod into Nechshavim La'echad. Besod Malki Edom and Izkarim Besod Pashas V'Yeshlach. Now, the metaphor there, why they call him the Malki Edom, I mean, it's supposed to be, I think it must be a metaphor for Edom. It's just that Edom holds a lot, but he he can't hold it. He didn't have the ability. I'm not sure. When the lights go into their vessels, so the lights themselves, so therefore you also to have these oros, the nitzutzos. That they are the 288 nitzutzim. So these broken kelim, that come down with them, if you add them up, which we will take a look at, dinim gevuros. So he says they're dinim, they're gevuros. So now let's go into a little bit more and see if I can go a little bit slower so I don't lose it. So this shach, which is a combination, what he said, of the nitzutzos, actually plus 32. So let's see, these shach go up, along with the broken kelim with the rapach. So it's interesting, olam hashach halalu. Did we establish how we got the shach yet? I'm not sure. So this was the first part that was an important idea that we had been missing. I had been. So always I would think that ma, anytime he had the name ma, it's a chesed. Because ma is zeranpin. Zeranpin comes to be mamtik, the no. But he says it's wrong. V'heim besod shem maha chodesh hamasakim b'samalachim sheyatze b'shem ben kedaider. V'heim chamisha gevuros. But he says the maha chodesh is actually mansapach. Ha'odem b'gematria par. So here you have the par coming to sweeten the 320. So therefore, when we're looking at, there's another chart. I guess the next chart, which really shows you this. He says, chamisha gevuras mansabacha ola begematria par. V'heba b'china b'par dinim. So these are 288 dinim, 280 dinim. V'al yadam nimtakim b'shach dinim. So we have a rule that he said previously, that dinim can only be sweetened by other dinim. So you have to go, what's the phrase he uses? He says you have to go back to the shorish of where they come from, which is in Bina. Bina is din-free, really, but holding dinim. So that's where the dinim comes from. You have to go back to that place where the dinim are, even go deeper, as we saw in the Idras. You have to go back to Erik Anpin. You have to go back to the Gevura of Atik, which is inside of Erik Anpin. All of this is for the purpose of combating the opposite side. So he goes on and he says like this. So we have this. That was a very big idea, and to understand it. And so this is what your kavar are. You're standing there. You're going to say count svira. When you say this, it's in order to be able to sweeten the shach dinim. But b'sidach b'shas hosif, he also adds in the sheyesh l'kaven laham tikam al yidei b'shem mansapach, through this name mansapach, the maha chodesh, which represents maha chodesh. So that's the guts of maha chodesh. So let's go over this. Could be some different things here where he's going to try to spell it out for us. We'll go to the previous page, on page Kuf Mem Hey. Kuf Mem Ches, sorry. And go like this. Number Kaf Dalet. Zed Od Yesh Kavana Cheres Be'in Tzviras Omer. B'tzarek L'Kaving Ba. B'tiva Kavanus Havanuch of Shebein HaKelim Shel HaMalachim Shenaflu, whether we're talking about the Kelim, Bein the Tzutzas HaMechayim Osam, which keeps them alive, Shnechem Chem Bebechin the Shach Dinim, that both of them come into the category of the Shach Dinim. Now, the Tzutzas are 288, and let's go on. And also then you have these Kelim. I don't know how he counts up the Kelim. Rabbi says like this. And this should come out with a pirush, or well, I guess of the Mabusharim. But anyway, the Mabusharim, he brings this. So that we know the 288 that went down there, they're all dinim. So I'm not sure if I'm really satisfied with that answer, but he says because they're from the lower level. From the Zat, I don't know, from the lower level. So this is a whole fact that's not in evidence by me. He says you're taking 32 Elokims, which represents the Lamed Beis Nesivos HaChochma. So he says, the word, and also the word lave. I don't know if that helps. So he's telling us that these really difficult, you're talking about the 288 now, which represents just the life force, which should be positive, but it's only positive in relationship to the broken kalim, because it's also dinim. He says they're like that, and they have been sweetened a little bit. So that they are able to sweeten them. So the Elokims of Bereshis, the 32 of them, and he's got a rapach im lamed beis. So you take this rapach and you add it together with the 32. It comes out to the number shach. So overall, these Elokims are mixed in with the 288. And this is one of the aspects of the 320 dinim. Now, I still have questions about the Elokims, so maybe he's going to talk about it, I'm not sure. So, Bechinas Shach Shnia, there's another Shach. Hema Kelim Atzban Shalom Malachim, they're the Kelim themselves. How'd you get that? He said, they're the Zat, or including Das. V'za hu shem chavai dema. V'lechein kol kli meshevach hamalachim, so therefore every kli is a broken aspect of the name Ma. That's my words. So let's say what he says. V'lechein kol kli meshevach hamalachim hu shem havai dema. It's a havai dema. Nimsa shehem sheva shemas ma, 7 times ma. I actually discovered this. I put it. I did some crazy things. I put it on the door when we were learning over at Shari Ezra, to that little back room where we learned. At any rate, nimsa shehem sheva shemas ma, which comes out to be shatu. 315. So since he said that the shorish of them is from ima. So they're the 5 gevuras that are found in Ima, which we just said before, the Mansapach or the Machadash, I don't know, I think. V'yachad, im shorsham shehem chamisha gevuras, that gives you another shach. So he said, osios, and I think this is the wrong word. It should be 5 times pa'amayim din, because Chamisha osios don't appear in din. I don't know where he would got 5 out of that. Ma'adni, I think it's, I put in that I think heim chamisha pamim din ma'adni. The heim, only if you take din and you multiply it by 5 times, it's going to get you the number shach, that which you and I are familiar with this from other places. So this is the root of the 320 dinim that come out. Dinim shel hamalacha sheyatze me'ima. So here's another one. There's another 320. So this kavana that we're talking about, that we're going to sweeten up these shach dinim, Neskashach HaMefarshim L'havim Be'eze B'china Na'asis Hamtaka Zu Ge'ez Sfiras HaOmer. So I'm not sure what that means. The Mefarshim are concerned about Bechinas Anasim Hamtaka Zu. What is the aspect that actually causes the Hamtaka to take place? Ge'ez B'Sfiras HaOmer V'Yu'un B'Divreichem. So we would have to be a little bit more advanced than that to be able to do this. So we have a few more minutes. Let's go back to number Pei Aleph on page Kuf Mem Tes, and we'll go on with these ideas. That to me was a very important idea. That gives us an idea of where the 320 is. The 320 is going to come back up. He's going to talk about this at the time of Sfiras Omer, and I'd like to be able to understand it in terms of these are the only kavanas we can do right now. So to try to get my kavanah straight. So he said, Pei Aleph says, Hine yemei ha'omer heim bebechin dinim gevuros. V'heim inin neshak dinim anodoim. So we just discussed that. V'heim begematria, and when you add them up, they come to the gematria ha'omer. So he said, Yemei sfiras ha'omer. So the whole mystical thing about this word omer, I try to fit it into the actual bringing of the Omer in the base of Migdash, or whatever, or the harvesting of it. Yemei Sfiras HaOmer Rabbeichem Yemei Din Ugevuros. Ugevur Le'el, we said that. Ve'edach HaBedinim Heim Bechinas HaShach Dinim. V'nirmaz Inyan Zecha B'Tevis HaOmer Ha'ola B'Gematria Shaka. Communion Shach with the Dinim, with the Kola. V'hinech HaBeshorish Kol HaDevarim Heim Elach HaShach Dinim. Everything goes on the Shach Dinim. That's what it's all about. L'cheim anach tzrich l'matkam v'labasman. V'keim sheshorish elach hayomim heim hashach dinim. So that's what's playing over here. Let me get this back up where it belongs. So he once again v'keim sheshorish elach hayomim heim hashach dinim. V'chein tzrich l'chamtikom. So therefore you're going to have to sweeten the love of the basman l'yedech v'mitzvah sfiras omer. But doing the sfiras omer, we're bringing the Shefa in, we're bringing the Chasanim and the Gevuros in. Is that what we mean? So he's Nevehine, Inyan Elach Shach Dinim, Heim B'chachmacha B'gam B'bina. Now, so here's another little steer in my mind. B'shas Atikun, Olam Shach Dinim, which are Shehem Kli Malachim B'harapach B'sod Man. So they're all moving upwards. Al manas the histaken. And why do they do that? Like I said, I think we read this before. Like I said, even in Shara Kudim, you see that everything wants to go back to the source, his barer, and to get rid of the sigim b'partzuf amelyonim when they arrive in the partzuf amelyonim v'la'achar mekan heim nimshachah the partzuf v'chachma b'bina. So then after that, this 320 are going to wind up being sorted out. Maybe we'll see. It talks about it. He said the partzuf v'chachma b'bina, the nimsha partzuf v'chachma b'bina yesh gam came b'chinan shal shach dinim, because they came up there. He said b'chachma b'yesh bo shloshim v'shnayim b'teva nesivos. Let's go back to chachma now. Chachma is 32 channels. Let's call them channels. Kol nesiv kol them es spheros. Each one of them has 10. Heim gematria shach nitzutzim. So that shows you that the shach, they themselves are basically the Indian of shach. What is it? Is that the channels are hismatus. They're limiting the light. That's the action of the gevura. Hashach dinim sheyeshnem bepartzuf chachma heim ba'ofen zeh dehinech bechachma yeshnem lam bebeis nesivos v'kol nesiv kol them as spheros. So he says now, so moving along. So he said, so we have this in two different places. In Parshas Bekudi. Let's see how much of this I could say before we run out of time. So he said, the boots into the Kardanusa. This is the language over there. Batish b'machshava, the boots into the Kardanusa, which is Lashon Din or Lashon Gevura. Batish b'machshava, it strikes the thought, the upper thought, which is Chochmah. V'nitzutzev, and as a result of that, Zarek l'shach ivor, it sends them out to 320, and I thought about this word Ivor. I think it means like bridges, or pathways, passages. There's not like I thought it meant limbs, like the limbs of Zeranpin or Eric Anpin, say for example. This is the 32 There's 32 passageways that are built up over there. Because it's a little hard to really appreciate. It's in the thought. It's in thought that the nitzutzim, I guess, and the kavana is part of the thought. Maybe, I don't know. He says it's in thought that the birur of these nitzutzim come out. Hashach nitzutzim, the parts of chachma nirmazucha b'sefer hazohar. So the 320 are mentioned are referenced there. V'zecha v'lashon asocial of anena reisha shirusa de mechamanusa. So what the shirusa means, I'm not sure. The beginning of the flow of mechamanusa, go machshava into the thought. The batosh boots into the kardanisa. When it gets into that high place, it runs into maybe the chachmas nimo, which is a din, or din. The salde go machshava, and it goes into the thought. Va'apik nitzutzim, as a result of that, it makes sparks. Once again, you have this concept of sparks. Sparks are sparks, but why sparks? So what are sparks doing here? So the sparks have what are they? They're like lighting a match, or the beginning of the fire, the beginning of something. I'm not sure. Nitzitzim that are sparking. So nitzitzim zarik l'tlas and meya v'esrim iver, that goes out into what ultimately comes out to be 32 times 10 different passageways that bring the shefa down. So that's part maybe of that Elokim we're talking about. He says that because of the location of where it's coming from, which is coming from Bina or Chochmah to begin with, it's coming from Chochmah here, it has a sweetening effect that can affect the Rapach, which are the broken pieces. That's it. I think that we're on to something real good for me, and I hope you're enjoying this too. Call Tuf, have a great day.